Hello, everybody. My name is Zonzi. Thank you for joining in today. I'm the host of the Discord Showcase AMA series here on the Polygon Discord. Today, we got a special guest from Swap Finance, Cyril. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks for
And
being here. It's great having you.
yeah, super excited to be presenting what we're doing at Swap to the Polygon community.
Yeah, absolutely. So, why don't you kick this off by introducing yourself? Tell us a bit more about your background prior to when you got involved in crypto and what you've been doing all the way up until you started Swap Finance.
Yeah, so I'm actually the business co-founder at Swap. I come from a financial background, so I did a master in finance back in Europe, in France. I'm French, and I worked then for 4 years in strategy consulting at an American firm called BCG. Yeah, I started my journey as a builder in DeFi actually last year. So I joined an entrepreneurship program, and that's where I met my co-founder David, and that's basically how we decided to build Swap together.
Fantastic. What was the entrepreneurship program, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it's called Entrepreneur First. Actually, it's so basically it's not necessarily a Web3 entrepreneurship program. It works kind of um, like a Tinder kind of for entrepreneurs. But some great Web3 companies came out of it. Like you have Volts Protocol that just launched, which is from EF, and also the Aztec Network is a company from Entrepreneur First. Basically, the idea is that they mix up a lot of tech and business co-founders, and they help you iterate and try to find new ideas and start working on it.
Oh, that sounds very cool. Good place to meet people with growth minded personalities. Uh, so, why don't we jump into Swap Finance? What was the motivation behind creating Swap Finance? And could you define, like, you guys define yourself as a market neutral AMM? Would you want to explain what that means?
Yeah, sure. Maybe I start with the background story, but I mean, the problem that we're trying to solve essentially is impermanent loss, and notably the fact. I mean, we saw that automated market makers have enabled all types of investors to benefit from market making strategies, which in traditional finance and in centralized finance are only for big market making funds, which which are accessible only to super high net worth individuals. Um, the problem with those strategies that are democratized by AMMs is that they offer very poor return risk profile. Um, a lot of studies have been done on that. One notably by Bancor has shown that 50% of LPs on Uniswap V3 are actually losing money. Um, and so if you take into account like the average return for liquidity providers on AMMs, it's pretty low. And there's a huge amount of variability, so of risk involved. So it's a bad. We think it's a bad financial product as an LP. Um, the other thing that convinced us to really try to tackle this issue of impermanent loss and market making strategies is the fact that when you like step out, when you try to to basically think about it, impermanent loss is also a huge issue for traders. Why is that? Because trading fees are a function of the available like the slippage and the fees that you have to pay for each trade, right? Trading fees have to be high in order to compensate for impermanent loss. It has been proven in various studies that the higher the fees, the better off the LPs are. So and the other component, the slippage, is actually quite high because a lot of people have. A lot of people basically don't use AMMs because they know that they are getting a poor return for the risk they are taking. So essentially slippage is high. I mean, you have concentrated liquidity that has solved a bit this issue. But so to sum up, when you look at it at the problem, it's actually a big issue for DeFi adoption because it hurts LPs who have poor strategies. It hurts traders who cannot have access to good liquidity on chain. And so that's what we are trying to solve with Swap. We are building an AMM which strongly reduces impermanent loss, which enables people to provide multiple assets in the pools, enabling yield products, essentially, yield index products, sorry. And the last part that we do is we have a dynamic trading, like we have dynamic trading fees, which basically enable us to fees that are lower than traditional AMMs. And the reason why we named this design, I mean, this AMM, a market neutral AMM, essentially is because, I mean, maybe it will get a bit technical there, but essentially we enable you to have the same exposure to your assets as if you had hodled your assets, just you're making fees along the way. So, and that's not the case in a traditional AMM, because the traditional AMM will rebalance the quantities of the pool when the price is moving. So, for instance, if you start with a pool of ETH and DAI, and let's assume that one ETH is worth 1,000 DAI, what will happen in a traditional AMM is that if the price of ETH doubles, you will end up with I don't remember the exact figure, but basically you will lose approximately 20% of your portfolio because you have lowered your exposure to ETH and you have increased your exposure to DAI. And at Swap, what we offer is basically an opportunity to keep the same exposure to both assets, irrespective of the price's variation. So that's why it's a market neutral AMM, in the sense that we don't vary your exposition based on the market conditions. Hope that's clear.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that thorough explanation. So I understand you guys are currently using Chainlink price feeds, correct? Are there any other partnerships or features that you want to highlight?
I think for us, the two things that were critical for the design of our AMM are both the feeds from Chainlink combined with the cheap transactions from Polygon. Why is that? Because so basically we use the Chainlink to calculate the mid price on our AMM, and second to calculate the fees that we're charging, which are based on the volatility of the asset pair. That's a mechanism that's very similar to what traditional market makers are using on order book exchanges. And in order to implement this approach while still being effective, you need to have very frequent Oracle updates. And so far, Polygon is the only chain that offers frequent Chainlink Oracle updates. That are So those are the key. I would say those are the key features and key element of our design, and that are powered by Polygon and Chainlink.
Awesome. Would you want to go ahead and jump into the showcase presentation?
I'd love to.
Okay. By the way, guys, if you have any questions throughout, please feel free to drop them in the voice chat text channel. It's just like 2 channels up from this one in the same Polygon Voices category.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay. So Swap is a very traditional platform in terms of AMM. So basically, you have 2 tabs. You have one tab where you can trade, and you have one tab where you can be an LP and deposit your assets. So on the trading side, for now we just have one pool, which is Ethereum, Polygon, Ethereum, Bitcoin, sorry, and USDC. We chose to have just one pool at this stage because we want to ensure that we have deep liquidity on the pool, and we will open new pools shortly after First, we're trying to integrate with we are integrating with aggregators. So if you want to trade, as I said, it's very like similar to other platforms. So let's say, for instance, I want to trade Ethereum against USDC. So I'm going to trade 0.01 ETH. We're going to tell you like if the price is expensive or not compared to the market price at this stage. Sometimes actually you may get some arbitrage opportunity on swap if the pool is imbalanced. So here that's the case. As you can see, I have $11.26 and I'm going to get $11.40. So that's a great swap for me. So here I'm just like performing the transaction. So right now I'm on my MetaMask. I don't think you can see it, but essentially I'm just executing the transaction. Now it's pending, and it will be. It's done. So you can add USDC directly on MetaMask as well, and you have a recap of your transaction once you did it. You can also like see all your past transactions in the Connect Wallet tab. One important thing to understand is that if the pool is too imbalanced, we don't allow you to trade in some directions because it puts the LPs at risk. So we limit the imbalances in the pool. So don't be surprised if you cannot trade sometimes. Also, when you cannot trade, it means that the price will be bad for you because we increase the price when like when you imbalance the pool too much, you're going to get a worse price on swap than on other AMMs. And this kind of dynamic spread allows us basically to be most of the time cheaper than other platforms. We have been live for only five days, so we're going to run a comparison soon about that, like to get some more data. But yeah, so don't be surprised if you have an amount too large error. The other so the other tab is like the invest tab. So basically here, I mean, again, very classic tab, right? So you have your investment. So here I have $457. You have the composition of the pool, which may vary over time, actually, because we don't rebalance based on value, but we keep the initial assets. And yeah, you have the APR. So as you can see right now, the APR is really juicy because it's approximately 15% APR, while we strongly reduce impermanent loss. So it's and this is just trading fees. By the way, for early LPs, we are currently running a retroactive liquidity mining program. So essentially, if you deposit liquidity right now, you're going to be eligible for like swap tokens when we launch the token, based on the time you contributed to the pool, x the amount of liquidity you contributed. Moreover, like if you provide more than 1K of US dollars, you will get a special NFT if you keep your liquidity for 40 days. And you have until the 22nd of June to do so. So if you want to deposit, you have two options. Either you can deposit with all three assets, which means you provide like all three assets and you get pool tokens, or you can join with one asset. It's basically the same exposure as the previous one. So what's going to happen is that your asset is going to be swapped in the pool against the other assets so that you get like all three assets. And then when you withdraw, you will get all three assets, essentially. Right now, it's advised to use more of the all asset function because the liquidity on the pool is not like it's still pretty like low. So you may fail to join with one asset due to the internal balance restrictions. So yeah, I advise you to join with all assets. So in order to join with all assets, what you can do is use the token which you have the least and just put max, and it's going to adjust for the other tokens. So here, for instance, I can join with approximately $178 Bitcoin, and yeah, lower my balance of other assets. So I'm going to click on preview to get a preview of the other assets. I need to approve all tokens, so I'm going to approve for USDC as well. I already approved wrapped ETH and wrapped Bitcoin. So transaction, as you can see, we have a little whale loading. This is our logo. And now I can move to the deposit transaction. So again, I have my MetaMask popping up. So I just confirm the transactions. It should be done in a very short time. Okay, so that's good. I have joined the pool. Basically, if you want to see, yeah, no need to refresh. You can see that my investment has just changed, essentially. Yeah, and then you can also withdraw your assets. So, I mean, very classical. So, I mean, I don't think it's worth showing that, essentially, but you can. Sorry?
Fantastic presentation there, and I really appreciate you sharing the alpha information with us about the retroactive airdrop. So just to clarify, that APR comes from trading fees.
Yeah. So right now, like the full APR, like the full 14% that you saw, is just trading fees. That's very healthy actually, because most of the AMMs usually like you get maybe like 2% trading fees, and then all of what they do is like their token that is added on top, and they don't take into account impermanent loss. So here, impermanent loss is not taken into account. However, it's much lower than traditional AMMs. We will share like a performance of the pool, an assessment of the performances of the pool in the next few days. But essentially, like for now, from what we're seeing, I mean, as you probably all know, it was a crazy volatility period during the last couple of days, with like the 3ACs, Celsius, Bancor, different problems, right? But so far the pool has been has held. So yeah, things
Phenomenal.
are yeah.
Great. So that's great to know that it's 14% APR with the retroactive airdrop on top of that. I guess one question we got coming in is regarding when you will be listing Matic and as well as additional tokens. Like I understand you're just in the beta launch phase, but
Yeah.
approximately
So,
like when do you think more tokens are going to be listed?
so first we want to ensure that we are aggregated with 1inch and Paraswap. We want to ensure that we have sufficient volume before like diluting the liquidity, etc. So like we're going to stay in this configuration for a few weeks. I mean, Matic, of course, is very high on our priority list for the next tokens. We will also like decide opportunistically, like for instance, if a DAO decides to provide a high amount of liquidity on Swap, like of course this would accelerate the process of listing that token on our platform. That's also those are the parameters, but yeah, basically we are going to integrate more and more pools. We want to take things like to do things well and slowly to have something that's very rock solid, essentially. So that's why we're not rushing like the very different pools, etc.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Um, so I understand you already have two audits, and you're using Chainlink price feeds. Are there any long term for like risks with this protocol, or do you think it's everything's pretty safe?
I mean, it's DeFi. Nothing is pretty safe, and people that are telling you that their product is safe, or I think they're you should not believe them. So no, I think basically the main risk regarding our product. So first, what we have done based on that is that we have
Sorry, do you mind?
we
You're
use,
cutting out a little there. Do you mind repeating that?
oh, sorry about that. Um, so basically, regarding the smart contracts, so the first risk, sorry, is smart contracts. Regarding the smart contracts, we have been, as you said, audited by two firms, top tier firms, Chain Security, the auditor of Curve, for instance, and MakerDAO, and Runtime Verification, auditor of Alchemex, for instance. Um, and I mean, we are also working on setting up a bug bounty program. Um, on the chainlink, another risk is like risk of failure of chainlink oracles. So I mean, they have essentially never failed so far, like never displayed wrong data. What we do have though is in case the oracles are not updated, protocol. It's embedded in the smart contracts. So we have protection against oracle failures, essentially. Um, and I mean, and then the last risk, of course, is like the financial risk. Uh, like you in extreme events, you never know like how things can happen, right? So far, what we have seen in the last 5 days is that the protocol has had like shown like yeah great performance over the last days. And as I said, we're going to communicate on that.
Fantastic. I guess I have some more questions, like just regarding where you see yourself going live, like out of beta testing. What do you believe the platform will look like by then? Like the long term vision.
So the long-term vision is to develop several things. So first, we like the algorithms that we're developing now is just a first step for us. We are working with different people, including top researchers, on a V2 of our algorithms. Um, and what we want is to provide like different, so of course more pools and more like index products that users can use. Um, we also would like to provide more strategies, some more or less aggressive. And I mean the last thing that we want to do, and which will come along the way, is we want to be a DAO for sure. So um, we want to onboard like the community and decentralize little by little the protocol.
Fantastic. I think those are some great long term goals. Um, how do you? I know there's a lot of competition in this space regarding uh, automated market makers. How do you plan to drive adoption?
Yeah, that's a great question. So essentially, the way we see our products is we think we're a great fit for two types of persona essentially. So first we have like the retail DeFi user, right? Like any like individual DeFi user, you don't have necessarily the time or the skills to invest and handle your UniV3 position, for instance, all the time. So our solution is passive, and we think it could be like we could like the value prop of just getting your yield and don't have to worry about impermanent loss or like the market conditions is a great proposition for retail LPs. The other segment that we're targeting are DAOs. So essentially, right now, it costs a lot of money for DAOs to provide liquidity on their token because they need to do so on UniV3 and or on other types of AMMs, and they face impermanent loss. And so we want to transform that loss for them into a yield opportunity, and that's why we think we could have a great traction with DAOs. I think a good example of that, although like right now it seems like the approach is not working so good, is Bancor. Like they have built this EL insurance product with DAOs.
You cut out a little there when you were talking about Bancor.
Sorry about that. So my point was Bancor essentially. I mean, right now it seems like their value prop is not. I mean, their product maybe has some problems right now, but essentially they managed to attract a lot of DAOs. Uh, so so yeah, we can see that with a similar value prop, essentially like DAOs have a huge appetite for impermanent loss resistant products.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like how you highlighted that the way you guys have this set up compared to Uniswap V3, it's a lot better for retail investors and more passive investors. Like you have more of a set it and forget it kind of setup rather than like having to constantly monitor and claim and compound. Like it's a lot more active with something like Uniswap V3. Um, cool. So I think you've done a really good job highlighting your competitive advantages and what sets you apart from the competition. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them in the voice chat text channel. Cyril is the co-founder of this project, so if there's anyone to ask about it, it is him. And yeah.
Yeah, don't hesitate to contact me on Twitter or on Discord as well if you have any questions. Like more happy to answer them as well.
Okay, Andre's got a great question. He's wondering, how do you see the governance working in a future DAO for Swap?
Um, so I mean, to be honest, for now, like we're starting more like as a um, so I mean we're like a core team that's working behind the protocol, right? Um, so for now, we have not deeply thought like the specificities of the swap governance, uh, but typically like what we have in mind are things like similar to like what Curve has been implementing. So um, like DAO being able to vote on the orientations of the products, um, the like the composition of the pools, etc. Like those are things that are on the table. Nothing is set for now.
All right, I just dropped your website, Twitter, and Discord links in the voice chat text channel for anyone who wants to follow up with you guys. And guys, please don't hesitate to ask any questions you have. I pretty well asked everything I think I wanted to ask, and you gave a fantastic presentation. So, um,
Thank you very much for for this opportunity and yeah, thanks for all the attendees.
absolutely, thanks for coming out, guys. And if no one has any last minute questions, then I guess we can get wrapping it up early. All right. Well, I don't see anyone typing, so thank you so much for coming out, Cyril. Today was a great showcase AMA. Thoroughly enjoyed having you, and I hope you have a great week. And I see lots of good things in store for Swap, so I wish you the best with it. And if you guys ever want to come back on and do another showcase AMM and keep us inform us, update us with where you're at in your development journey, you're always welcome to come back on.
Awesome. Maybe for the Matic pool then. Thank you
Okay,
very much
sounds
for your.
good. Yeah, we'll be in touch.
All right. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.